A new report has some more troubling news, like they don't have enough for Boeing and their 737 MAX jet. Now, the story says the sensor linked to 2 deadly crashes had been flagged in more than 200 incident reports, which were submitted to the FAA between 2004 and the time of the crashes. Now, the angle of attack sensors sends data to a software system that will push the nose down if a stall is detected. But bad data sent to the system is thought to have played a role in both the fatal Lion Air and Ethiopian Airlines crashes. For more, we're joined by Jamie Finch, former NTSB Director of Public and Family Affairs. Thank you so much for joining us on this. We're still continuing to talk about it. Planes are still grounded, millions being spent. But now it's coming back. Boeing is starting to say it was the pilot's fault, that they did not react right. Ethiopian Airlines has come back and said, no, our pilots did exactly what they were supposed to do. Are we ever going to be able to get the truth of who actually holds responsibility?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to the bottom of this. It will be through the investigation that the NTSB is conducting on this and the other aviation safety organizations from these other countries, Indonesia and Ethiopia. They're doing a thorough and professional investigation on this. It takes about a year for them to complete them, but they will need to no, everyone needs to wait on speculating on what the cause was and who to blame and so forth. And the NTSB is an independent agency that has a great reputation. That will do a thorough investigation. We'll find the cause, the probable cause, and make recommendations on how to avoid this, but will not be pressured in any kind of way by any of the political games that Boeing is playing.
Well, and that's the question. You just mentioned a year. Is it safe to think, or is it realistic to think that these aircraft are going to remain grounded until this investigation is over and a proper fix? Or do you think they might say we have the fix, but we're going to continue the investigation? Do they go hand in hand?
Well, I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, it could be that they could be grounded the entire time. We don't know. I mean, I know that's really scary. But listen, this is really hurting these airlines. I was talking to friends this weekend that were flying on Southwest or American Airlines, and these airlines have banked on buying the 737 MAX, and now they're all grounded, and they're having to scramble. They're canceling flights. They're moving things around. Customers are getting angry. I mean, if I were the airlines, I'd be suing Boeing. I mean, this is really getting out of control, and it trickles down all the way down to the consumer.
Well, okay, so Boeing is now also being accused of rushing the 737 MAX into production. It took 6 years. I don't know the timeline of it takes from the beginning to the actual creation to the flight of the airline. But considering this high price of getting it wrong, was there enough time invested to something this big being created?
No, absolutely not.
And did that raise red flags from the very beginning that something could go wrong?
It should have, but I mean, they've been working under the system where the FAA and Boeing worked hand in hand, and they're relying on the information and data that they're getting from Boeing, because the government will never be able to have as many professionals and experts on the Boeing planes as Boeing themselves. And so it's been a very delicate but sturdy relationship. But once that relationship is tainted in any kind of way, it's ruined forever.
Okay, one other part of responsibility is the government and the FAA. Now, this little sensor, one sensor, was flagged over 216 times by the FAA. Does the federal government, or do they hold any responsibility for not grounding those planes before, or did it take a crash for it to happen?
Well, I mean, I said this before. There is plenty of responsibility to go around and blame. And FAA absolutely needs to take their own lumps on this. They should have been on top of this. The pilots themselves were calling in with these complaints. That's where this was coming from. It wasn't just coming from some
mechanics or random people. These are the pilots saying we got a problem.
Yes. And so this is not just some random guy in the shop. These are the men and women that are actually flying these aircraft.
Well, Jamie, this is definitely a wake-up call to a lot of these airlines to make sure that every detail does matter when it comes to these planes. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.